Recently, Tyson Foods came out and made a statement about food shortages that we will see by the end of this week. And this is definitely a critical thing for us to know, because we have a group of people in this country that always sees the opportunity to panic shop, and they will ultimately make this whole thing worse. So this came out on NBC News. Groceries could see meat, and I think they mean grocery stores, shortages by the end of the week with plant closures, meat plants that are closing in the country. So I'm going to let you listen to this audio here. Okay, here we go.
Might be cracking as some meat processing plants around the country have become COVID-19 hotspots. So far, over 1,000 employees of meat processing giants like Tyson, JBS, and Smithfield have tested positive for the virus, forcing the temporary closure of at least 15 plants. Some employees, like this worker at an Iowa Tyson plant, are scared to show their face because they don't want to lose their jobs, but are even more terrified of getting sick.
They didn't have enough material or masks and things like that to provide to us, so they would start giving us different types of rags and stuff.
Earlier today in Indiana, officials declared a public health emergency as Tyson closed another plant in Cass County due to COVID-19 cases.
This order is necessary to end this threat to the city as quickly as possible.
Tyson Food telling NBC News all employees are now provided surgical-style face coverings, but warning customers in a full-page ad that there will soon be a limited supply of their products, saying the food supply chain is breaking. All of it worrying third-generation Texas cattle rancher Missy Bonds.
The uncertainty of the market is unsettling because we don't know what's going to happen when it comes time for us to sell.
In Colorado, some 6,000 employees at the JBS meat processing plant in Greeley wait in line to be screened for symptoms before being allowed in for their shift. Many learning that a fifth employee here has died from the coronavirus.
It kind of scares me, and it makes me angry that the company is willing to open without testing people.
In early April, the factory closed for nearly 2 weeks after over 100 employees tested positive for COVID-19. Workers promised testing for all before they reopened, but that never happened. JBS said in part in a statement to NBC News, "We took the aggressive action to voluntarily close the plant, assuming the entire workforce was positive and subject to quarantine. Public health officials agree this is the most effective way to break the chain of infection. But unions say more testing is needed immediately."
We understand the critical job that they do, but we don't want workers losing their lives. They did not sign up for this. They signed up to process meat.
And Lester, as for the screening out here, many of these employees say that their biggest fear right now is of those asymptomatic workers who may make it through that screening process showing no fever, no signs or symptoms, and get onto the processing floor with COVID-19 and spread it without even knowing it.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, these companies got to do a better job in protecting their employees. And you see a place like a meat plant, how often is it getting sanitized? And how many of those employees are coming in there but not showing symptoms? So they're saying beef, chicken, and pork could be scarce as toilet paper soon because so many meat processing plants have been temporarily shut down due to the coronavirus. Industry experts are now warning. We've just completed our third week of reduced slaughter and production. Dennis Smith, a commodity broker, livestock analyst with Archer Financial Services in Chicago, said, "My guess is that about 1 week out, perhaps around May 1st, shortages will begin developing at meat retail counters. Overall, production is down 25%, Smith said, which is a huge decline." It might be time to save some bacon since the amount of pork in frozen storage dropped last month by 4% to 621 million pounds. The Department of Agriculture reported last week the cause of the shortage is reduced production due to labor issues at the packing plant, Smith said. Some plants have closed for deep cleaning and will remain closed until employee base has recovered from the coronavirus. Others implementing safety procedures, which in effect slows processing speed at the plants. Case in one point, the Smithfield Food Plant in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, states that that is now one of the nation's biggest coronavirus hotspots, was closed after 2 workers died and 783 were tested positive for coronavirus. Right now, there's enough meat to feed American appetites. In fact, the 502 million pounds of beef in the warehouse freezer was up 2% from the previous month, while the amount of chicken in storage dropped slightly to about 921 million pounds, according to the Agriculture Department. But the pandemic has clogged the pipeline for getting more meat to grocery stores, the expert said. There are likely to be meat shortages in select parts of the country. Terry Riley, a senior commodity analyst at Futures International in Chicago, Riley noted that last month in Chicago, in the early days of the crisis, there was a run on all chicken as fearful consumers, so the panic shoppers, emptied the shelves. He said there's no reason to worry just yet about a meat shortage. There is a lot of frozen pork and beef sitting in freezers, so people shouldn't panic, Riley said. In San Diego, they're trying to figure out where to store all the fish that they would normally be serving on, to tourists. Also, meat processing companies have a restaurant line and a grocery line. And with restaurants closed, the companies have shifted those supplies of frozen meats to grocery stores. Fresh meat, however, is going to be a challenge, he said. If we continue to see the meat processing plant closures, that will be a problem. The experts weigh in as Tyson Foods took out full page ads Sunday in the Washington Post, the New York Times, and the Arkansas Democrat Gazette, warning that the food supply is breaking as pork, beef, and chicken plants are being forced to close, even for short periods of time. Millions of pounds of meat will disappear from the supply chain, the company board chairman, John Tyson, wrote. As a result, there will be limited supplies of our products available in grocery stores until we are able to reopen our facilities that are currently closed. Tyson, chief whose company employs 100,000 workers, said it is devastating to farmers too because they no longer have anywhere to sell their livestock. Millions of animals, chickens, pigs, and cattle will be depopulated because of the closure of our processing facilities, the ad read. Last week, Tyson Foods closed a meat processing plant in Pasco, Washington, that produces enough beef in one day to feed 4 million people. This came on the heels of the company closing 2 pork processing plants, one in Iowa and one in Indiana, and a chicken processing plant in Tennessee because of coronavirus. Meanwhile, the South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem said she hopes the Smithfield food plant in Sioux Falls can reopen in a matter of days. Wow. This is a critical infrastructure business. I've always talked about our food supply as a national security issue because it's important we feed ourselves in this country. The Smithfield plant was shut down April 14th after 783 workers tested positive for COVID-19 and 2 died. More than 5,000 meat and food processing workers have been affected or exposed to COVID-19, and 13 have died since the pandemic struck. The United Food and Commercial Workers International Union reported last week. Ladies and gentlemen, this ain't going to be the final time they close down. Even if they reopen, they're going to have to shut down again. I mean, all of these places that call themselves reopening are going to have to shut down again. Until you get rid of this thing, there's no way around it. You are not going to be able to keep America going for long periods of time. Within weeks, you're going to have to shut everything back down. But y'all, please tell me what you think about this latest revelation about meat shortages starting by the end of this week in America. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.